Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois.
I know all of that, Mama.
Then know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world: to be allowed to be. And I learned through the blood of this people that black isn't beautiful. It isn't ugly. It isn't kinky hair. It isn't straight hair. Black is just black. It broke my heart when you changed your name. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all. Who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
It comes as a great shock, around the age of 5 or 6 or 7, to discover that the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you.
On the other hand, we are the only true inheritors of the place called America.
That's right. That's right. It belongs to us.
Because we are still outside of it.
It belongs to us, and there's nobody can do anything about that.
And we will get it. If we continue to move. I think it's a guilt.
In ways that one can't quite see yet. We already have it. That's one of the reasons for the panic.
We have to effect it.
Yes.
We have to know it, and we have to make sure that everybody else...
We have to change it.
Our destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here.
Mr. Muhammad teaches us that Negro is a term that was applied to us during slavery by the slave master. And right today, it's a term that is used only to point out the descendant of slaves. It's never used for black people, period. Africans can come to this country. They aren't called Negroes. And if they are called Negroes, they resent it. So if Negro meant black, as we've been taught, it would be a term that would be applicable to or applicable to everyone. But he says that it is something that means a slave, or something it means something that has been left out of society, politically, economically, educationally, and otherwise.
You don't think of it as an anthropological term?
Definitely. It's not an anthropological term. It's a slave term. And it was a term that was invented in America and was used by the slave makers, slave traders, and slave masters, and attached to the property or the chattel or merchandise that our people represented in that particular day.
And by the way, we're not black. How about that? We're not black. We're Indian. Yeah. We're Native American. Yeah. How many of y'all grandmothers got Indian in your family?
Yeah, I'm first. Period. I'm Indian.
Wait a second, but what happened to the Indians? We black. Show me black on the planet. Why you stop recording?
He knows the fucking shit.
Why you sound crazy? Nah, because you think I sound crazy.
No, you don't sound like that. I'm still recording. You're talking truth. You're talking truth.
We're not black. Race was made up.
You're talking truth.
Race was made up.
Yeah, with the brown eyes.
Show me black on the planet. Show me black. Everybody else, they European, they Australian, they Chinese, they Japanese. Show me black on the planet. We marginalized as entertainers.
Crazy because he's black.
Nick, what you care about crazy?
Hello, how y'all doing? Sorry. How y'all doing? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Happy Educational Friday, even though it's Saturday. But nevertheless, happy Educational Friday. Happy Educational Friday. Happy Educational Friday. Now, I'm not going to keep y'all long, but I didn't want the weekend to go by without giving you guys your Educational Friday, because I know I was supposed to give it yesterday, but then the whole Diddy thing came and it was just a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to be sure that I was able to get on here and give you guys some content as far as our education, because we got to start getting into the weeds of this stuff, of what's really been going on. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this grass back here. But look, today, like I said, I'm not going to keep you long, just enough to get you guys, you know, some content as far as some of the things you should know. So the out of Africa theory, that's what we're discussing today. And that theory is one of the bases for us believing that we're all African. First of all, that all human come from Africa, which was a lie. But also it's a theory that makes us believe, per white supremacy, that we too are Africans. And the fact of the matter is, there is no evidence suggesting that Black Americans, so-called Black Americans, are even from Africa. Actually, there's mounds of evidence that suggests otherwise. And not only just North America, South America, all over the world, period. It was just a theory is what it was. The out of Africa theory was just that, a theory. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with what a theory is just like, this is what I believe. Let's go get the actual term. I don't want to just give you like my layman term. Let's go get the actual term. Hold on. I want you guys to see this because this is very important. Let me see. I want you guys to see this. Hold on. All right. Let me share my screen. 1 second. Hold on. This thing get on my nerves. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what what a theory really is, because we got to be able to understand this and first of all, a lot of science is made up of theories, but this is one, you know what I mean? That, is this the one? Let me see, scroll up. But this is one that has been taken as fact. And the fact of the matter is it's not. It's just not. And it was made by Charles Darwin. And we'll get into him in just a second. But ultimately, it's not a fact. It's just what you believe. So it says theory. It's a noun. A supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles and independent of the thing to be explained. Okay. I'm going to read that again. A supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles and especially one based on general principles, independent of the thing to be explained. So what does that mean? If, let's just say, I never knew how trees were created. If I were to go and start looking up some stuff and be like, this is what I suppose happened. That's literally all it is. I believe that there was this genetic mutation of Earth, and then in that Earth came a seed that happened to be planted in the Earth, without somebody planting it there, just kind of through weather and all that stuff, and then sprouted a tree. That's what a theory is. I literally just gave you a tree theory. The out of Africa theory is just the same. It was made up by a guy, Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin, a clear man, again, everything we get as far as it seems to be everything we get as far as what we know has to come from them. And if it doesn't come from them, then all of a sudden it's not true. And then what makes it worse is there's a whole bunch of Negroes who go around here taking everything that these people say and will really battle you if you don't say what their doctrine says. Which is why we get a lot of people battling us about this doggone bull crap about doggone, what's the man name? About who we are as an identity, right? So let's get into it. Charles Darwin. He's a British naturalist, right? Also known as Charles Robert Darwin, okay? Now, who is Charles Darwin? He was born February 12, 1809, Shrewsbury, England. He died April 19, 1882 in Down, Kent, and was an English naturalist whose scientific theory of evolution by natural selection became the foundation of modern evolutionary studies. So his idea became the foundation of all of these evolutionary studies that we have. Let me see. Let me scroll down a little bit. An affable country gentleman, Darwin at first shocked religious Victorian society by suggesting that animals and humans shared a common ancestry. However, his non-religious biology appealed to the rising class, of professional scientists, and by the time of his death, evolutionary imagery had been through all of science, literature, and politics. Wow. Darwin himself, an agnostic, was accorded the ultimate British accolade of burial in the Westminster Abbey, London. Let me say this. This man's theory, listen to me and listen to me good. This man's theory, this is what he thought. He didn't know, he didn't have nothing to base it off of, not really base, but he didn't have any facts or any type of artifacts or anything to prove what he's saying. This is what he said, like they said. And it literally became the basis of all of that, and it spread through all of science, literature, and politics. So his out of Africa theory, which was just that, a freaking theory, is now taken to be fact. Now, the way it is okay, Charles Darwin was like, I guess you would like say like an atheist today. He didn't believe in God. So you had two ways of indoctrination. You had one through the religious way, which is the Adam and Eve story. Everybody's familiar with that. Oh, there was an Adam, God made Adam, and then he needed a helpmate, and then he made Eve, and then them two procreated after they got kicked out of the garden, and them two populated the entire earth. False, cap. Or you can go the scientific route, which is the Darwinism, which says, hey girl, so all y'all came from Africa because we found some bones, and in these bones we found they old, and since this the oldest ones, everybody got to come from Africa. And it's also a reason why when the so-called clear people were spying on us, they saw our skin color and just assumed we were African. That's just how it is. And it sucks because we have taken that to be fact. And there's a lot of people, and I got to be honest, there's a lot of people out here that look like us that are literally placed in those situations to confuse us. I don't care what nobody says. The Prince of Pan-Africanism, he's a plant. He's a plant. He is a plant. That's all it is. He's here to keep you and I in confusion. But the jig is up on people like Dr. Umar, and he's a funny guy, so I get it. He's very I guess you would say he's very relatable and likable to people. But the jig is up because people are waking up to this. People are, and this is what I noticed too. I was on TikTok. This is what I noticed too about this whole out of Africa theory and this whole Pan-African BS. We're starting to realize that we're not the same as the so-called Africans or any other people in the diaspora just by them. The things that they're doing and saying, we're starting to be able to visually see and understand, girl, we ain't nothing like me and you the same. Me and you are nothing of the same, nothing. We're starting to see it even without somebody telling us. We're starting as a community being able to realize, and this is everybody in the Jamaican area, not Jamaica, but all the islands and all of South America, we're all starting to see that, wait a minute, we different. And that's okay. That's okay. But this whole thing with, girl, this Pan-Africanism bull crap is all a bunch of bull. It's literally all it is. And people are waking up. Even if they don't wake up to the idea that we're indigenous to the land, we're still waking up to the fact that we are not the same as all of those other people. Period. Okay, let's get into his out of Africa theory. Charles Darwin. Now this article I pulled up is the one that debunks this his out of Africa theory, but we're gonna get into a couple things really quickly, and then I got a video to show you guys. All right. Let me scroll down. Human dispersal out of Africa, a lasting debate. We go to I don't need the abstract, the introduction. Okay. The origins of human in Africa was famously proposed in the 19th century by Charles Darwin. Based on the presence of chimpanzees and gorillas in Africa and on Huxley's comparative anatomy studies that showed that modern humans and apes shared a common ancestor. Darwin argued that the ancestors of modern humans arose on African soil. Now, over 150 years later, genetics, with the advent of genome-wide genotyping and sequencing techniques, coupled with archaeological evidence, substantially confirms that the origin of the first modern human, while highlighting many further complexities, right? Did I read that right? Coupled with archaeological evidence, substantially confirms, okay, the African origin of the first modern human, while highlighting many further complexities. Okay, let me scroll down. In particular, with the continuing advancement of these genetic methods and through a symbiotic coupling with novel bioinformatic approaches, researchers are attempting to use genetic information to answer questions of our origins in finer resolution than previously obtainable. How and when did our ancestors first leave Africa? Were there multiple dispersal waves or a single one? What geographical routes were taken? Now, those are good questions to start off with. How y'all doing? Y'all like the video, please? If you haven't already, please like the video, please. We got good likes. Shout out to y'all. So basically, this whole out of Africa theory is them saying that we all come from, like I said, I call it a monkey, but apes or monkeys or whatever you want to call it, because that's the oldest remains, according to them, that they found, which was cap, because we found older human remains, in America than that of the so-called Lucy thing. So that was all cap. But the thing about it is, this theory, like they said, is used in science, literary, and religious terms. Religious things, and it's the basis of it, because this created the out of Africa theory, right? So with that being said, shit, I lost my thought. Oh yeah, with that being said, it's very important that we understand what it is that's happening here. We have a whole system in our educational system that is set up to literally say, hey girl, all of the black people in America, y'all were from Africa because the first man was from Africa. Because I've had this debate too with people, because especially with religious people or highly indoctrinated, educated people, they'll be like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. We're all from Africa. Now, even if they're going on the religious side, they're going off that whole Bible, Adam and Eve thing, or if they're going off the educational side, they're going off the Darwinism of the theory. And the thing about it is, none of those things, not the religious theory, nor the scientific theory, has ever been proven. None of it. And the fact remains is, this earth was populated with humans that were melanated long before the clear people came along. So how is it that they come along and tell us who we are and where we come from? It doesn't make sense. It literally, when you think about it, y'all, it literally makes absolutely no sense. We are older human than the clear people. How is it that you can have the clear people then come back and be like, oh yeah, no, everybody came from Africa? And this is the thing, it's all a ploy and it's all a plan, because how did Charles Darwin get to have the final say so on all of this stuff? I believe this, and this is a fact. I believe that this whole America thing that we're living in, it's almost like, I swear, it's almost like we watching like the Matrix. I swear, I understand the Matrix more and more and more. Everything is planned. Everything is already set in place, because Charles Darwin, this clear man, gets to be the one, you know what I'm saying, that says wherever all humankind came from. But y'all not even older than us. So how it's no different from your child telling you where babies come from. How the hell your child gonna tell you as a mother where babies come from when you're the one who birthed the baby? And try to describe it and say, but mine, no, it's not that, it's this. How can you tell me as the child that I birthed, where babies come from and how it feels when I'm the one who birthed you? It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Now, I want to do something really quickly. Hold on one second. Let me make sure. I want to show you guys this article I found. Except the cookies. In this article, they were speaking about how a jawbone was found, and it literally debunks, single-handedly debunks this out of Africa theory, right? And remember, the out of Africa theory states that all humankind comes from Africa. Listen, this is what it says. And this is from natureasia.com. I should have gave y'all the sources to the other one. I'll put it in there. A key piece in the puzzle, the out of Africa model theorized that humans migrated out of Africa in one big push around 60,000 years ago. At 177,000 to 194,000 years old, the Massilia cave jaw provides evidence to disprove this theory. Now, remember, the theory says we came out, humans came out of Africa 60,000 years ago. They found bones in Asia that's 177 to 194,000 years old. So that literally debunks the out of Africa theory. Hold on, let's get into it. This findings is among a host of other discoveries pushing back the date of human evolution. For example, 300,000-year-old earliest modern human fossil from Jebel Eru, Morocco. I can't say the name, I'm sorry. And showing an earlier, more varied pattern of human migration out of Africa, such as recent studies supporting the presence of humans in Asia 120,000 years ago. So you got bodies and remains that are found hundreds of thousands of years ago. And this man's theory saying that, hey, yeah, everybody came out of Africa 60,000 years ago is still being held up to high regard. They still running around with this theory for real. That's why when you have a conversation with a black person, the first thing they'll say is, well, we all come from Africa. We all come from Africa. So even if you're indigenous to this land, you still came from Africa first. How, Sway? How? They have remains that has been found way, I'm talking about, and again, archaeology is touchy too, but they found older remains way older than 60,000 years ago. So how, Sway? How, Sway? How, Sway? Let me see. Get out of there. Let me see. Where was I? Yeah. So what I was saying was, yeah, D baby, Morocco is Africa, but they're talking about Asia. They're talking about Asia too. Asia has bones that are found 120 years ago, 120 years old. Let me read it again. This finding is among a host of other discoveries pushing back the date of human evolution. For example, the 300,000-year-old earliest modern human fossil from the Jebel, Morocco, and showing an earlier and more varied pattern of human migration out of Africa, such as a recent study supporting the presence of modern humans in Asia 120,000 years ago. What I'm saying is, Charles Darwin's theory was saying that everybody's from Africa because they found bones that were 60,000 years old. That is false. That is false. And also, I have proof to show you that there were bones older than that found outside of Africa too. So just stand by. But his own theory debunks his own theory with the oldest bones he found, because they found bones in Asia 120,000 years ago. So even if you drop Morocco, there's bones in Asia 120,000 years ago. 120,000 years old. Do I believe in the Pangea theory? I think every single thing had some sort of truth, but I think everything is all like touched, if it makes sense. I think everything is touched. I don't know. I ain't gonna lie, I don't know. I'm not really sure, because I look at it like this. If everything was together, right? And then something happened and then everything separated, don't know. I would have to look in. I would have to look into it. I would really have to look into it further into it. I don't know about that Pangea stuff. I don't know about that Pangea stuff. I don't know. And look, I Am Crystal says that is what made me question the Bible. You know what's crazy about that? People who really know the Bible and people who really read the Bible will tell you that when Adam and Eve was in the Bible, there were other people around. Like they weren't the first humans. There were other people there. So it's first impossible for Adam and Eve to populate the earth because there were already people. And then secondly, how is it that Adam and Eve, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. None of that makes sense. Because what about the other people? What about all these other people that was on the earth that the Most High God, according to the Bible, said that, hey, yo, don't mess with them. Don't go by them. That's sin. Don't go over there. What about all them people? What about all them people? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Again, everything is touched. I don't know what to believe, girl. I honestly, I don't even know what to believe at this point. It's the only thing I'm trying to do with my going back and restudying stuff is just literally trying to piece together the stuff that I need to know, if it makes sense. And this is another thing. They say the Bible characters. I'm glad you said that, Ari. They say the Bible character lives to be hundreds of years old. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, girl. I don't know. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. But moving on to this out of Africa theory. At the time Charles Darwin came up with this theory, he found a 60,000-year-old bone. But the thing is, they found bones elsewhere that are much older. Much older. So then that would mean even in Asia, they found bones that are 120 years older. Well, not 120 years, but 60 years older than the bones he found to come up with the theory. It just doesn't make sense. Let's finish reading because I want to show y'all a video. Duca says that this find confirms the current thought in the community that there was not a single wave out of Africa, but frequent expansion, which often failed. Bay adds, new data like the evidence from the Massilia cave and other areas of Asia is really forcing us to rethink many of our ideas of modern human origins. These findings, according to her, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, links recent discoveries so that now everything starts to make sense. All right, and these are just some, let me see. Yeah, that's some references. So the whole theory within itself is a bunch of bull. The whole theory within itself is a whole bunch of bull. But yet and still, we are still propagating said theory today because we were told to. And because we really believe. And you know what's worse about it? Most of us only know what we know because we believe it. Or we're really heavy on our belief. And I think that's one way the enemy was able to screw us over. Because I don't know, man. I don't know. Right. I don't know what to believe. It's just too much. All right. I want to show you guys this video. That's no, not that one. Let me go back. Hold on. I don't want to show you that one. Let me show you something how they use entertainers to practice as well. Hold on. And we've gone over this video before, but I want to show you again. Just a couple pieces of it. Let me turn the volume up. Shout out to Hezekiah News.
The following program is from NET, the National Educational Television Network.
The people now called Negroes are the most written about and the least understood of the world's people.
This term, Negro, demoralizes us and is detrimental. I feel it doesn't give us any association past the slave ship.
I think
this is the one where the dude was like, where now they're trying to go toward the whole black thing.
The first task of people of African descent, whether in the United States or in Africa or elsewhere, is to get rid of this slave named Negro.
This curious word Negro was seldom or never used in Africa itself. And this word has no meaning, or no worthwhile meaning at all, in Africa. I would doubt myself if it has any useful meaning anywhere else.
How the hell would he know? First of all, let me back up. You got to know this. There are a lot of people that look like me and you that is there to help their narrative. That's literally why they're there. They're strictly there for these people's narrative. That's all they're there for. That's it. But the thing about it is, how this clear man gonna tell us, first of all, what they use in Africa? And he's right. They didn't use Negro in Africa because negro means black. This is what they use to describe us because of our skin color and other racist ideals. But again, we're getting the information of our identity from a clear man who literally does not have our best interests at heart. Americans and everybody on this side that was affected by that slave trade, we were literal, like, we're the only people who have confusion about who we are. And it's horrible. And they keep confusing us by changing our names every time you turn around. Oh no, we're gonna be this now. We're not that no more. We're gonna be why? There's a reason why they're doing that. And I believe that is way bigger than religion, is way bigger than politics. I believe because these people know that they are on stolen land that belongs to you. And as long as you stay confused and discombobulated, you will never come back for it. And it's way bigger than just the land itself. If so-called Black Americans, if so-called Black Americans were to literally collectively come together and basically go after these land patents that was taken from them, the clear people would have to go. The clear people would have to go. And they not trying to do that. Remember, they came here. We didn't go there. It's weird.
What is a Negro? A simple question, but the answer is not so simple. My name is Ossie Davis. I'm an actor and a writer.
Ain't it always an actor? Ain't it always an entertainer? Isn't always an entertainer the one giving you your information? They're puppets. They're puppets. All of them. Used at the disposal of the powers that be. They're puppets.
The narrator of our series of programs on the history of the Negro people. I am also a Negro. What is a Negro? In Africa, the word Negro has no meaning. In Brazil, a Negro is a man who's very poor and very black. And in the United States, a man who has any quantity of Negro blood, or whatever that is considered a Negro.
Are Negroes a race, a people, or a condition? Our programs will be asking this question in many ways and in many different settings. Our odyssey will take us throughout the world to Africa, where we will explore the relationship of American Negroes to the land of their origin. To Brazil, where we will ask, is Brazil a racial paradise?
Mind you, this is where you starting to hear about this Africa thing. We're all coming from Africa. Everything was done sequentially. Put it in the entertainment, put it in the schools, put out a movie, Roots. That's what they do. And after Ossie Davis show you this, I want to show you something contrary to what he said from another so-called celebrity. Check it out.
Our aim in this series is both a modest and an ambitious one. We will be asking many questions and perhaps answer only a few. For there is a vast ignorance of Negro history among whites and Negroes, and the job of filling this vacuum is massive. Do Negroes have a heritage and a tradition like the Greeks, the French, the Anglo-Saxons? Or are we something less, as others have portrayed us? Everywhere we have looked, we have seen Negroes as savage and barbaric, humble and self-sacrificing, scared and childish and inferior. And I remember as a kid coming from some of the pictures, and we spent the whole time from the motion picture house to home satirizing the Negro performances we saw in the film. Well, it was also an admission that somehow or other this was, to some degree, what we were. Now, these important and very, very impressionistic things that we got from these films did, to some degree, govern our behavior. When a Negro child goes into a movie, for instance, and sees himself or sees another Negro in an unfavorable light, he feels, to some degree, threatened. He feels uncomfortable, and a great deal of his laughing at that situation will be the kind of laughter that protects him. That's
that bull. That's that bull. We still say this today. First of all, look at the conditioning he's putting on black people. When a black boy goes into a theater and he sees a white person, he feels inferior. He feels less. How you know? How you know? And then perpetuating the other bullshit of, oh yeah, the reason why black people laugh, it comes from the plantation. It's a way of coping. It's a coping mechanism for us. All negative tropes to put inside the heads of the Negro, because I'm pretty sure they showed this in all the schools and all of that. And then you really take that on. That's the reason why we around here freaking out behind slavery, and ain't none of us been in no slavery. But we really be going hard for it, like we really was out there in the field getting whipped.
It's a nervous attack against him, himself, the way he looks at himself, the esteem with which he holds himself, and how he will rate with his fellows in the streets. It's seeing something happen to you that you can't control, which leaves a scar, which leaves you feeling inadequate. You don't feel loved. You're ashamed to look at yourself, ashamed to go home, ashamed to talk to the boys next door, ashamed even to ask these questions of your parents, although sometimes you do. It's a horrible situation, and sometimes we never get over that.
As a Negro, I have honestly tried to believe that I was somebody, and I've always...
This part is very important, because I tell y'all all the time how words or how people can say stuff and it literally changes you. Something comes over you and it changes you. Listen to this man talk about how what he's saying affects him or affected him at the time. Just listen, please. Pay attention to what this man is about to say, because it's no different from speaking ill to a child. Yes, it's definitely conditioning, Elroy TV. It's no different from speaking ill to a child. If I had a child and every day I told my child they were stupid, they're going to grow up thinking they stupid. If I woke up and told my child every day, you're dumb, she's going to grow up and think that she's dumb. If I woke up and told my child every day that she's ugly, guess what? She's going to think she's ugly. So with this theory and with the stuff they're putting into the minds of the Negro, watch how it literally affects them. Listen to this man. This is very important. Listen to him. Listen to what he said before and then after he done heard this. Look.
It's a horrible situation, and sometimes we never get over that.
As a Negro, I have honestly tried to believe that I was somebody, and I've always fought during my life to keep that feeling that I did have some value And I say value knowing what that word means. And there's been many a night in my life when I went to sleep and known very deep inside me that I really wasn't worth much.
I still do not really know what being a Negro is or what it means. It means that my skin is a little bit darker. It means that my cultural exposures have been somewhat different to other ethnic groups. It may even mean that as a human being, I might be more sensitive to need and despair.
Oh, yes, you know, that wish I was white kind of thing, when you begin to sort of get the feeling of difference, like maybe you're dirty, something's wrong. But there was that feeling, you know, so early you can't even remember where it started. I'm not over it yet. It's part of my American heritage.
We were told we were a people.
Listen, our ancestors being given a doctrine of slave, of less than, and then it being implemented by stuff like segregation and Jim Crow and all that stuff, that will literally make you think that what these people are saying is true. The first man said, I used to try to make myself think that I was somebody and that I had some type of value and all of that stuff. But now I go to bed and I know it's not true. The other lady, I don't even know what a Negro is. I guess my skin dark. I don't know. Before these bullshit, I didn't mean to curse, but before the bull crap, these people didn't have this type of identity about themselves or ideas or ideals about who they were as a people. You literally took a whole group of people and confused them. You literally, but that's done by design. It's done by design. Again, if I tell you you ugly, and then you walk out the door and everybody you see say ugly, 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 even if you didn't believe it when I say it, you're going to walk away saying, shit, I am ugly. Yeah, B-Dub, that's Ozzie Davis. But he's a puppet. Let me show you something different. Pete, let me show you something different. How the differences are, right? Hold on. Where is it? Look at this documentary over here with Bill Cosby. Now, watch what Bill Cosby says. Now, that was in 65. This is in 68. But that got probably way more traction than this doc. Watch. Hold on.
Black history. Lost, stolen, or strayed.
Charlie Brown, you're the kind of reminder we need. You have ability, nobility, and a sense of honor that are very fine indeed. Whoop, boom. With a heart such as yours, you could open any door. You could go out and do anything. You could be King Charlie Brown. You could be.
See how those positive affirmation in those babies, how that would affect them in a positive light? I'm talking about just listening to the song. Just listening to the song. You can be whatever you want to be. You can be king. You can type, girl.
Yay! Great. Very good. All right, we'll go to lunch now, and this afternoon we'll continue with our meeting.
Well, ain't nothing like that no more. Watch Bill.
No, I could never fit in that. Never get in that at all. This is more like it. Now, what's the whitest thing you know? Whiter than the driven snow, whiter than the whites of your eyes? Sugar. Non-integrated, non-black, sweet sugar. But you see, there is a black man in your sugar. His name is Norbert Rillier. Norbert Rillier in 18 in 1846 invented a vacuum pan that revolutionized the sugar refining industry. Now, you have to dig to find that fact. I mean, it's not much history, but it's still history. Now,
mind you. Then he said, a black man in my sugar. Listen, he's in the 60s. He said you have to dig to find that fact. You have to dig to find that there's a black man who created the machinery to refine the sugar.
Now, what do you stand in? In your shoes. Now, there's just you and your shoes, isn't there? Nope. See, there's a black man standing in your Oxfords with you. Sharing your soul and your heel is a man, his name is Jan Ernst Metzelliger. And in 1863, this is a drawing by the kids, Metzelliger invented the machine that made mass-produced shoes possible. Now, you have to dig around for that fact, too. And again, it's not much history, but it's history. Am I coming in clear to California? I mean, is this TV signal driving through a pass in the Sierra Nevada mountains and slipping into San Francisco? Okay, well, I want to thank you, Jim Beckworth. Jim Beckworth, out of St. Louis, hunter, trapper, and honorary chief of the Crow tribe of Indians.
Oh,
we had trouble finding.
Wait a minute. Did you hear it? Let me run him back just a little bit. He telling you. Let's run him back just a bit.
Through a pass in the Sierra Nevada mountains and slipping into San Francisco? Okay, well, I want to thank you, Jim Beckworth. Jim Beckworth, out of St. Louis, hunter, trapper, and honorary chief of the Crow tribe of Indians. We had trouble finding.
St. Louis, 1863, honorary chief of the Trobe, I forgot, did he say Trobe? A Clobe tribe of Indians. Pete.
Finding you, Jim. Though you helped open the West, you didn't make the books. Chicago, right here, where the Wrigley building is. Young fellow by the name of Jean-Baptiste de Sable.
You see the feather in the cap?
Jean-Baptiste. He founded you, Chicago, when he traded with the Indians. And of course, there it is right there at that particular time. It was called Chicago or Stinking Onion by the Indians. And de Sable, he didn't even change the name at all. Now you take the Lewis and Clark expedition here, right in there. You'll find a black man named York helping to open the West. Those men are trying to wash the black out of York. That's what you might call historically significant because a lot of people think we ought to wash white, but we ain't gonna, you see. Texas, coming to you, Texas, right down the Chisholm Trail, right here. Right down there with 5,000 black cowboys who never made it to the Hollywood Western. Did you know that? Huh?
Look at all this black history he's putting in his documentary. All positive. You got people who done made, black people who done made shoes. You got black people who done created sugar refineries. You got black people who traded with Indians, which he didn't say that man John Batista was black. He probably was a black European if his last name Batista. Okay, then you got 5,000 cowboys, black cowboys that never made it into the books. That's by design. That's on purpose. It's supposed to happen like that. Because when you look at old cowboys and Indian or cowboys videos, my daddy used to watch old Western movies. All of the cowboys were white. They were all clear. So again, entertainment is how they enforce the what you know. That's why when people say, oh, you know, the Indians, the Native Americans, y'all ain't Native Americans, y'all don't even look like them, because they're going off the Hollywood depiction of the so-called Native American. Was he Haitian, Rondo? That makes sense because they got a lot of French influence over there too. They got a lot of French influence in Haiti. I think, don't they speak a dialect of French or something like that? But think about what this does to the children in their minds versus what Ozzie Davis does for the children and to the children in their minds. It's like night and day. But again, indoctrination works on both ends. If you indoctrinate a child, they speak Creole, okay, but I think it got some French in it, right? That Creole language that they speak. If you indoctrinate a child, and that's why they start everything through the children. If you indoctrinate a child with negativity, negativity will follow them. That's why Black people today are still over here crying and screaming about reparations for something that they really truly don't know nothing about. They really truly don't know nothing about it. Stacia said, yes, they speak French and Creole, which is a broken down French. That's what I thought. Because, you know, New Orleans have a lot of Haitian, it's not a lot, but we got some Haitian inspiration in New Orleans too. We speak Creole. Yes, we had to make our own language so the French couldn't understand. Makes sense. You know what's crazy, the Don? Y'all probably already had y'all own language and they created a language off of y'all's. Because I just don't see how, I have not seen in history where they really made nothing. I really don't. Creole is to French what patois is to English. Okay, that makes sense. Patois, that's the Jamaican tone, that Jamaican tongue where they be saying, I can't do it, but I know what you mean. Like you can kind of understand it, but you really don't understand it when people talking. Gotcha. That makes sense. But what I'm saying is there's a huge difference, and I guarantee you, I promise you, I guarantee you that Ossie Davis thing got pushed way more than this one. Let's see what else we got on here. Hold on.
In the same group, there was one Black outlaw. His name was Deadwood Dick, who claimed his soul brothers were Bat Masterson, Billy the Kid, and Jesse James. Deadwood Dick used to ride into the saloon, order 2 drinks, one for himself and one for his horse. And here's his horse, drinking a shot of red eye with a straw. And how about...
What movie that was? I seen a movie recently. About a black cowboy, and they were talking about he orders a drink. Was it a movie? I don't know why that sounds familiar. There was a black cowboy. He was like famously known, and everybody knew he would order a drink for him and one for his horse. Am I tripping? I don't know.
The 186,000 blacks who fought on the Union side during the Civil War. 38,000 died. How about Teddy Roosevelt's charge up San Juan Hill? It wasn't just the Rough Riders who made it. 4 black regiments went right up with Teddy. They didn't get lost going up the hill. They got lost in the history books. How about the North Pole? Snow White? Well, the first man there was black.
Oh!
Matthew Henson.
See? Did you hear that? In the North Pole, you know, all I remember as a kid is the North Pole. Obviously, you related to Santa Claus. But when you see them Eskimos, ain't there none of them look black? Was it Billy the Kid? You don't see none of them, you see what I'm saying, that are black. But the first black man, even in the North, the first man in the North Pole was black. You're not going to tell me that we all came from Africa. Because even when you think about that logically, think about it logically. If I am accustomed, and I am accustomed to a region of somewhere hot, like Africa, if I were to migrate to somewhere cold, like the North Pole, I'd probably die. I'd literally probably die. If I am, listen, climate is real. It's not to say that you can't survive, but if I am a person who's lived my life in a hot, warm environment, and then I went to the North Pole, especially not equipped, I'd probably die. But the first man in the North Pole was a black man. Ari says, still waiting for a place to be discovered where the natives are white. Nowhere, girl. Ari, nowhere. It doesn't exist. And this is what bothers me about that indigenous word. When I see them use the word, I cringe. I literally be so mad in my head. I be like, I just be wanting to scream. Because you're not indigenous to nowhere. Nowhere. Show me name the place. That's why I was talking with the girl. I forgot, not talking with her, but I was going back and forth with the girl yesterday, talking about black people didn't create marching bands. It started with the Greeks. What? First of all, I ain't never known no Greeks to have no marching band, but let's just say they do. The original Greeks were black. The original Europeans were black. So even if this person sent me, and she didn't send me no source saying it was a whole bunch of paragraphs in a picture, and she's not a clear person. KB Wesley, she probably on here. I didn't even read that. I don't want to read it. Show me the receipts. If you ain't got no receipts, stop it. Stop it. But what I'm saying is, even if you were to say we got it from the Greeks, the original Greeks were black. They were not clear people, not the clear people you see today, not the ones that played in 300. Girl, it's ridiculous.
He spoke Eskimo, and he was Admiral Perry's navigator.
That is a black man. He just showed the picture. Hold on. That is a black man. I wish I could go back just a tad. Hold on.
Pole. Snow White? Well, the first man there was black, Matthew Henson. He spoke Eskimo, and he was. Tell me
if you didn't know this picture wasn't in the North Pole, you would think that's from New York or somewhere where it's cold in America. Tell me if nobody told you this was an old Eskimo in the North Pole, you wouldn't think that was somebody in America. That is a black man.
He was Admiral Perry's navigator, and although he made it first to the pole, it never quite made it to the history books. And how about your heart? Can we get there? All right. Daniel Hale Williams first performed open heart surgery successfully. But this list could go on forever. Blacks who made it, blacks who made history, but who didn't get into the history text at all. And the strange thing is how little there is about us in the textbooks. Napoleon once said history is a fable agreed upon, and the fable agreed upon up to now is that American history is white on white. But sometimes we did get into the history books. All wrong. Now you take this one. The Growth of the American Republic, 1942 edition. Samuel Eliot Morrison, Henry Steele Commager. Quote, as for. This has to do with slavery. As for Sambo, Professor Morrison. Sambo, Professor Commager. As for Sambo, whose wrongs moved the abolitionists to wrath and tears, there is some reason to believe that he suffered less than any other class in the South from its peculiar institution. Peculiar institution means slavery. Although brought to America by force, the incurably optimistic Negro soon became attached to the country and devoted to his white folks. Unquote. Those lines were written by two Pulitzer Prize-winning white Northern professors.
Hold up. Bill Cosby just told y'all slavery was fake. You know that, right? And the fact that you came from Africa, I don't know if y'all caught that. Bill Cosby just basically said, this is what he said before he grabbed the book. He said, all of this stuff I just told y'all about, none of that made it into the history books. But you know what did? A lie. And in the book, he pulled, I'm going to replay it. In the book, he pulls up and it says, Sambo, and I'm paraphrasing, came from Africa and adapted to his new land and his white slave masters. So none of this stuff, none of it that we did made it into the history books. It's all, when you think of American history, I've taken it. American history is all white people. It just is. But when they do put a nigga in, it's to further their bull. Let's go back. I'm gonna replay it again. He literally, what Bill Cosby just did was literally say that they lying to y'all without saying it. And I promise you, I bet you this didn't make the waves like this one that we just saw with goddamn what's his name? The other black dude I just showed y'all. Look.
The Growth of the American Republic, 1942 edition.
1942.
Samuel Eliot Morrison, Henry Steele Commager. Quote, as for. This has to do with slavery. As for Sambo, Professor Morrison. Sambo, Professor Commager.
Look how you say it. Ozzy, that's his name. But look how he say it. As for Sambo, he said Sambo, like for real. Because remember, all of these are contributing factors. Words mean a lot, more than you think. More than you think. So calling the character Sambo adds to the whatever picture they want to paint of the character. Look.
For Sambo, whose wrongs moved the abolitionists to wrath and tears, there is some reason to believe that he suffered less than any other class in the South from its peculiar institution. Peculiar institution means slavery. Although brought to America by force, the incurably optimistic Negro soon became attached to the country and devoted to his white folks. Unquote.
Mind you, before he grabbed the book, he said, this, instead of the truth being put into history, this book of lies is the one that was put into the history. That's why he said the old saying was, history is something with the, basically, whatever you can make the lie believe, whatever you can get people to believe about the lie. That's all it is.
Those lines were written by two Pulitzer Prize winning white Northern professors.
Written by who? The white people. He's spilling tea.
Slavery. That's the place everybody likes to start Negro history. You have ignorant black men being brought over from Africa in chains. Terrible thing, slavery.
Oh.
But this way slavery is taught, it sort of takes the sting out of it. Because the way it's usually taught, people think that we Afro-Americans started with nothing but little grass skirts like the kids in the Tarzan movies. And though America gave us slavery, America kindly gave us religion and a lick or two of education. And when we get more jobs and more education, then up from slavery. But we had something before we left Africa, something more than rhythm. I mean, we had a high culture. Culture was so high that great artists in the world are still borrowing from it.
As today.
Now here's a sculpture by an unknown African artist. And here's what Paul Klee took from him. And here's a work by an unknown black.
Mind you, let me say this. You have to understand this. In this time, the whole Africa thing was pushed. So black in Africa was synonymous. The Negro in Africa was synonymous. I'm going to show you a video after this of artifacts found in America made by Negroes. Pete, but watch this.
Black African and Pablo Picasso liked what he saw.
When he says black African, he means African American, Negro, whatever.
Another African design, and Modigliani swiped it, or he was influenced by it, or whatever polite word you want to use. Another black African artist, and Picasso didn't change it very much. I mean, when you look at this copying, you got to give us a little more than rhythm. You got to give us style. Now, if you tell the history of slavery right, you got a big problem on your hands. The slave trader didn't take some savage out of Africa. He took a human being. He sold him like an animal and separated him from his family. America invented the cruelest slavery in the history of the world. It broke up black families. After slavery was over, America kept breaking up the black man's family. And that's some awful history to teach. Now, if you want to look history right straight in the eye, you're going to get a black eye. Because it isn't important whether a few black heroes got lost or stolen or strayed in America's history textbooks. What's important is why they got left out. Now, this country has got a psychological history. There was a master race, there was a slave race. And though there isn't any political slavery anymore, those same old attitudes have hung around. I mean, the burning part of Burn, Baby Burn is right here in this classroom. We want to thank Mrs. Lovely Billups and the whole gang here at the 4th grade for the brilliant and intelligent artwork that...
Let me say this. Integrating the schools was done by design and by plan too. But before I get to that, you have to understand this whole we're coming from Africa theory. And when Bill Cosby describes these artifacts and show how all these so-called great artists, Picasso and all them literally copy and paste our stuff. When you look at that again, where do these people come from and why don't they I don't think they're capable of creating. I really don't. Sunshine says, wasn't he busy drugging and raping women during this time? I don't know. I wasn't there. Were you? You tell me. Were you there? Because see, y'all got to understand too. Y'all got to understand too. And I don't know if he did it. He probably did. But I believe, this is what I believe. let me say this part. Get me on here. Let me say this part. I believe them women went down to that party, they had fun, and that was fine. And that was that. When it was time to assassinate Bill Cosby's character, they came out of the woodworks hollering, 60 years ago, he gave me a Quaalude, and I didn't want it. What? What? But let's just say he was. What they got to do with what we talking about? What they got to do with what we talking about? Again, y'all got to understand, a lot of the people that they disparage in front of you is just so that you won't listen to them. A lot of the people they disparage in front of you just so that you won't listen. Because me, I don't give a good goddamn who. Listen, the truth, I don't care who tells the truth. If we were to disregard people because of how we feel, everybody we disregard because of how we feel about them, we would be slow and stupid. And a lot of us honestly are, because they got us in the age of feelings where we feel. And because of some old clear women who went up to party and get smashed at hotels 3, 4, 5 in the morning and party with Bill Cosby, that woke up 60, 70 years later and said, I didn't want it. He gave me a Quaalude. Now, black people supposed to just turn their back on Bill Cosby. Was there any Negro women in that crowd? Maybe, can somebody help me out? Was there any Negro women in that crowd? Because if not, what they got to do with me? What does his character have to do with what he's saying? Nothing. Beverly Johnson, I don't remember her. But even still, what does that have to do with what he's talking about? What does that have to do with what he's talking about now? We have to stop doing that. I used to do that. If I don't like you, I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. Until I started realizing a lot of so-called people that they put in front of us, the people they tell us to like, that they prop up on the pedestal, are typically the ones that we shouldn't like. i.e. P. Diddy, Did we not just speak about yesterday how Diddy beat the dog crap out of Cassie? But prior to Diddy making the powers that be mad, everybody loved Diddy. Everybody did. Everybody loved Diddy. I don't think that Bill Cosby is no better of a celebrity than any of these other celebrities. He ain't crap. Let's just start there. But at the end of the day, what I am saying is when he's telling the truth, he's telling the truth. Because we can go back to Ozzie Davis. He's more of a palatable black man. You know, Negroes love them some Ozzie Davis. Hold on. Negroes love them a good Ozzie Davis. Look at how he talking. Look at the difference in what Bill is saying and what Ozzie is saying. Look, I want y'all to see this. I really want you guys to see this because this goes to show you the ones that they put in front of you that's so great typically aren't the ones that are great. Look at what Ozzie's saying.
Asking many questions and perhaps answer only a few. For there is a vast ignorance of Negro history among whites and Negroes, and the job of filling this vacuum is massive. Do Negroes have a heritage and a tradition like the Greeks, the French, the Anglo-Saxons? Or are we something less, as others have portrayed us? Everywhere we have looked, we have seen Negroes as savage and barbaric, humble and self-sacrificing, scared and childish and inferior. And I remember as a kid coming from some of the pictures, and we spent the whole time from the motion picture house to home satirizing the Negro performances we saw in the film. Well, it was also an admission that somehow or other this was, to some degree, what we were. Now, these important and very, very impressionistic things that we got from these films did, to some degree, govern our behavior. When a Negro child goes into a movie, for instance, and sees himself or sees another Negro in an unfavorable light, he feels, to some degree, threatened. He feels uncomfortable, and a great deal of his laughing at that situation will be the kind of laughter that protects him. It's a nervous attack against him, his self, the way he looks at himself, the esteem with which he holds himself, and how he will rate with his fellows in the streets. You know, it's seeing something happen to you that you can't control, which leaves a scar, which leaves you feeling inadequate. You know.
So we got on one hand the so-called R-worder, Bill Cosby, over here saying, hey, you know, black people, we have so much rich history, so-called black people. We have so much rich history. They don't even put it in the books. You know what they put in the books? They put in the book that you were nothing but an African slave. That's the one we're not supposed to like. Ozzie Davis, on the other hand, is over here saying, you know, when a Negro child goes to a picture and he sees himself disintegrated on film, you know, what he does is it go home and it makes him feel less than. What? And you want me to believe that this is the good person and Bill was the bad one? Stop acting crazy, man. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Thank you, Dadan, for the super chat. That's why the Willie Lynch letter was about once you control the minds of black people. Yep. White people don't really have to do anything. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know people say that Willie Lynch wasn't real, but that whole model theory is still very prevalent today. So there's some realness in it, even if the person wasn't real. Thank you, the one for the super chat. Lovely super chat. Thank you so much. Love you for putting us in check while helping it to also check so-called facts. Absolutely. Thank you, the one you want to be for this generous super chat. You didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for that. But look at how the government, look at how America, guys, look at how America paints one and then paints the other. It's all on who's going to help my agenda, who's going to push me, who's going to put me to where, you know what I mean, I need everybody to be on. What level I need everybody to be on. So if I need everybody to think, all these black people to think that they're less than, I'm going to go get Ozzie Davis. Meanwhile, what a lot of y'all don't know, Bill Cosby funded his own stuff, his own projects. Bill Cosby, see, the network was behind Ozzie. Bill Cosby was funding his own stuff. Hell, he funded the microphones and all of the sound system for Martin Luther King to get his crazy ass up there and say, I have a dream. I wish that nigga would have had a nightmare. It's almost like, you know what we do today? It's the same thing we do today. And I'm only using this musically, not for the person, just for the music. It's the same thing we do today. People will say Kaya is broke. Kaya don't have nothing. She jealous because Nikki is rich and Nikki has this and Nikki has that. When the fact of the matter is, when Kaya performs or when Kaya records a song, Kaya gets 100% of her revenue. Whereas Nikki got people to pay, and even the money she thinks she has, let her mess up and make one of the powers that be mad. She gonna be broke as a joke tomorrow. So does Nikki really have more than Kaya? And we can't look at things. We cannot look at things. Because if we're looking at things, then that would mean net worth means more than the actual money, and that's false. I swear to God, I'd rather be in Kaya's position than Nikki's. Because when she performs, if she walks away with 40-50%, she doing good. Kaya don't have to write another song. Kaya got so many hits, and I know about it. But Kaya, just like Nikki, don't have to write another song. But when Nikki perform them songs, Nikki got to pay the writer, the producer, the record label. Yes. By the time Nikki, because I don't know if y'all know this, the way this works is you don't get to just come out and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just perform this song. Why you think Lauryn Hill couldn't perform her album for a long time? Why is this important? It's almost like Bill Cosby in this situation would be the Kaya. Everybody hates him. Oh my God, he R-worded a bunch of women back in the 60s. Girl, we wasn't even here. What? We weren't even here. Yeah, Cat Williams is another one, Nikki Nicole. Absolutely. So now we hate Bill Cosby because he allegedly R-worded a bunch of clear women who came up to his hotel 2-3 in the morning. But Ozzie is held in high regard, and Bill is giving a positive message. Ozzie is giving a negative one. It doesn't make sense to me. That's why I keep telling us, we got to get out our feelings. We have to get out our feelings. Like, for instance, I don't like Tariq Nasheed. I think he's a plant. I think he's a pimp. And I think that he's literally here because this is his next hustle. But when Tariq Nasheed got FBA separating themselves from other people in the diaspora so that they can have an identity, I agree with that. I've seen that shit on Twitter. I've even shared it. I agree with that. I think that he's a con artist. I think that Tariq Nasheed ain't crap. But when he right, he right. When he right, he right. That's not what I'm saying, Sunshine. If he was a rapist back then it doesn't matter. That he could have raped yesterday. I don't care. What does that have to do with the message that I'm talking about? He could have did it yesterday. What does that have to do with the message? See, you still in your feelings. Did he R-word you? You acting like you was one of the victims. You acting like you was one of the victims. That has nothing to do with anything. That's between him and them clear women in the government or the judge. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's between them. See, I'm not like the rest of these people. I'm not going to jump out the window and lay my life on the line behind people that I don't even know. I don't know them people, and they ain't my people. So, but guess who? Guess what? Them people not from Acorn. Bill is. So If you want to be in your feelings about him doing something to people that you have nothing to do with, that doesn't literally affect you, listen, Sunshine, but I get it. Sunshine says she believes in having ethics and morals. I get that. I swear to God, I'm on board with that. But what I'm saying is, if you took that model, then you can't listen to none of these celebrities, none of these politicians. I'm talking about none. Let's talk about it. You wouldn't be able to ethics and morals. You wouldn't be able to listen to your pastor at church. Throw him out the window. You wouldn't be able to listen to not one politician. I don't care what level of politics they on. You can't deal with them. Throw them out the window. You will not be able to listen or deal with no celebrity. I don't care who it is. Period. If by that logic, you can't talk to nobody and you can't like nobody and you shouldn't be supporting nobody. If we just thriving off of or believing in what you said, ethics and morals, by that logic, you can't deal with none of these people. Not one of them. You think Bill Cosby the only one that was in there R-wording people? Stop it. If you believe Bill Cosby was one of the only ones back there doing that, you're stop it. It doesn't, you're not making any sense. The point is, when there's a message for you, you are doing yourself, not nobody else. You're doing you a huge disservice, right? When you throw out the message because of the messenger, because you could be missing out on vital information that could directly help you. But when you're in your feelings about something that has nothing, now it would be one thing, Sunshine, if you said he did it to me, then we would have a whole different conversation and I would completely understand. All you know is what the media said. That's all you know. And we're supposed to just throw the baby out with the trash? No, we're not doing that. Hey, real talk with Ms. J. We're not doing that. Girl, don't get me started about Hugh Hefner, who had cameras in every corner of the room, who taped all of the people who came through that doggone house, who was basically running a brothel. He was literally running a high-class public brothel is what he was doing. Come on now. We gotta start moving back. And again, see, this is what we know. The powers that be knows how we operate. We're the only group of people that operate off of feelings. That's why they sway us all the time. That's how they sway us during elections. That's how they get us during the elections. Oh my God, look at this person. He's horrible. Don't vote for this person. And then every time we fall for the okie doke because how we feel. We got to get out of our feelings. But let me say this too. Let me say this, because this is a very huge misconception, Sunshine, and I want you to go look this up. You're absolutely right. Bill Cosby did admit to drugging the women. He did admit to giving the women drugs. You are absolutely right. What he did not admit to is hiding it or force feeding it to them. You see what I'm saying? It ain't like he snuck it in the drink like they doing today, or put it in the food. Yes, I bought Quaaludes. Yes, when the women would come by, I would give them Quaaludes. Yes, but it's not like I was putting it and hiding it. They had their hands out for the Quaaludes. I don't know if you know that, but Quaaludes were very, very popular in those days. Everybody was doing it. It was either that, shrooms, marijuana. So you got to be careful with, yes, he admitted to it. I would too. If you come to my house and ask me for a drink, or you come to my house and we drinking, and I say, hey, you want a drink? And you say, sure, and I give you a drink. Does that mean that I force fed you to drink? No. You got a drink. It was your will to take it. All those women took it on their own will. All of them. So to me, that should throw out the whole drugging thing about it. Now, the only reason he was dealing with that legally back then because Quaaludes were illegal. You could not have Quaaludes. You cannot eat like today. You can't just be around here passing out. I don't know what's the new pill, not ecstasy. That was back when I was younger. But you can't be passing out whatever drug of choice today like it's nothing. And if you get caught, your ass going to jail because it's illegal to have said drugs. So that's the reason he was going through it back then legally, because you cannot have Quaaludes. That is illegal. You cannot be walking around having parties and everybody and passing out Quaaludes. You can't do it. But the fact remains is now one of them women were drugged in the way that we're been taught to say, or we've been told to think. All of those women, Quaalude, sure. Literally. So for that, I don't care about none of that. I wasn't even there. I don't care. Don't care. That's the least on my list of things to care about, to be honest. Let's move on. I want y'all to see something. The fuck? Girl, who sent me this? Girl. Okay, my baby just landed. Let me show y'all something else. Somebody just sent me something about my son just R-wording me. Oh my God. Girl. It's crazy. All right, let me show y'all something. Shout out to you. I'm gonna show y'all this. Hold on. Let me back it up. Y'all remember we were talking about that DNA bullshit, right? Remember, I keep telling y'all, we are the only people that takes this DNA test, this 23andMe, this African ancestry. We are the only people, only Americans really. But we are the only people, bye Ebonics, bye. You didn't have to make an announcement. You could have just exited the live. You didn't have to make an announcement. I didn't even know you were here, Fat. We are the only people taking this test, right? Watch this. Shout out to UBTV, like I said. Shout out to UBTV. Now this one is Lost at Home. This is one of his playlists that he have, and it's called The True History of So-Called Black Americans, right? Peep this.
The truth is that I wanted to do a 21st century version of Alex Haley's roots.
Right.
And I wanted to get 8 prominent African Americans.
Pause. How you gonna do a 21st century Alex Haley roots when that was a lie? The old roots was a lie. Why would you want to redo that? And he knows that. It was big time doggone, especially in that space. He knows that roots was a lie that was postured as the truth. Why would you want to redo that unless you want to mislead like Roots did? See, you gotta listen to the people. They be talking loud without saying everything they need to say, but you gotta be able to read between the bull. If Roots was a lie, why would you want to do a 21st century Roots? Oh, got it. To further misguide them like they did in the 60s. No, I'm sorry, the 80s. It's crazy, bro.
And I would trace their family tree back to the abyss of slavery, the tomb of slavery, because that's when records for Black people disappear, obviously. And then what I call reverse the Middle Passage through DNA and find out what ethnic group they were from in Africa, like Alex Haley claimed that he did. So I got Oprah Winfrey, Chris Tucker, Bishop T.D. Jakes, Quincy Jones.
T.D.
It was an experiment, and it was a big hit. And so PBS asked me to do a sequel. And we called African American Lives too, and we did Morgan Freeman, a man who played God and the President. You had to do him. Yeah, Maya Angelou, God bless her soul.
But these are
Chris
all people
Rock.
that are famous and celebrities, and
yeah.
And the idea is what, that their lives will be more interesting to people.
Yeah, well, that viewers, real people who tune in, want to look over your shoulder.
Which is the reason they
and
read
get these
gossip.
family stories.
They want to know about people who are famous,
right? And this is a archival form of gossip. But here's when the
archival form of gossip. Pay attention. The clear man said, well, why would you get the celebrities? Oh, well, what he wanted to say in layman's terms, oh yeah, I got them because they're going to get the people to see. See, if I do a regular Black person, nobody going to care. We need the puppets that are put in place. Yeah, you heard TD was there, huh? Everybody he named ain't shit. All these celebrities. Pete, he's doing this the same way they did Roots. See, he can't do it in a movie form. So now he's gonna do it in a documentary form just to push to the max. This is the reason why everybody's spitting in the tube, sending their shit off right now. Behind the celebrities. I promise you.
Brand changed. I get a letter, Charlie. I started getting all these letters from people. And I get a letter from a Russian Jewish woman who said, "Dear Dr. Gates, I've always admired your career and your stance on multiculturalism and cultural diversity. But after watching 2 seasons of African American Lives, I've decided you're a big fat racist because you only do black people." So, you know, my whole identity is African American studies. That's my day job. I've been a professor of that since I was 26 years old. Yeah, Yale, Cornell, Duke, now 26 years at Harvard. Glorious years at Harvard.
This is Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. He is the chairman of the Department of African American Studies at Harvard, the gatekeepers of the world's historical deception.
In my time, we were taught that the Africans were these benighted people, and they were too stupid to build a boat or to be curious about the world and cross the Sahara Desert. It was rubbish. Africans were just as curious as anybody else. The Sahara Desert was a highway. It wasn't a barrier. So I thought, well, and there were great trade routes. So I thought maybe my Nubian descendant had come over and ended up being tricked by some white man and ended up in Maryland or Virginia or something. So that was cool. And if I needed an interpretation, believe me, I could have produced one.
As he panders to his audience for laughs, he makes reference to Dr. Kittles, who is the founder of AfricanAncestry.com.
Two Negroes. They always put one in front of you who look like you so that you could believe it. 2 Negroes. You know what it reminded me of? Remember when they first put out that vaccine? And they had that black doctor from Africa on there saying, "Oh no, it's good."
So it broke on CNN. I was sitting in my living room minding my own business and said, "Oprah Winfrey's a Zulu." So I called Rick Kittles and I said, "Rick, did you tell Oprah she was a Zulu?" He goes, "No, man, she made that up herself."
Mind you, Rick Kittles is the so-called scientist who came up with African ancestry. So he calls Rick Kittles like, "Yo, Rick, Oprah on the TV saying that she's Zulu. Did you do her test and it came back Zulu?" "No, she just made that up. We talked about this before." They're telling you the truth.
It's a true story. I would lie to make you laugh, but I'm telling you a true story.
Gates goes on to reference the process by which Kittles collects genealogical information, jokingly, as if the process he uses to collect information is completely fraudulent.
So I said, "Rick, are you in your lab?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Is anybody there?" He said, "No." I said, "When the results come in, make her Zulu, man." You know? I said, "You back there making it up anyway." Nobody believe you can take some spit and figure out a tribe? What, are you crazy?
I don't know what else we be having to hear, but they got people online and in real life will argue you down and tell you that shit is real. You believe you can't spit in a tube and find a tribe? And when you try to bring this up to people who are pro ancestry, DNA crap, they will batter you. They will batter you like you lying.
Zulu, man. You know? I said, "You back there making it up anyway." Nobody believe you can take some spit and figure out a tribe? What, are you crazy?
I don't even know. And you could show this to all of the people who got the doggone that did the test, and they still gonna walk away and find a way to say that this is not, that don't mean that that's what he's saying. I've seen it. Most of them are online, like on YouTube. They don't even allow you to play this part because they'll be like, "That's not what he said." Okay, well, let me play. I don't want to hear. Even Jabari, he did the same thing when Top Cats went on stage and tried to show him that too. No, I don't want to look at. Why not? Laughing in our face.
So anyway, I was a Nubian and it was cool.
Gates is probably one of the most decorated scholars in the world. He holds 49 honorary degrees from different colleges and universities.
49 honorary degrees. Honorary. Heavy on honorary. You know, after I got my second degree, I started realizing they was giving these degrees out like candy to anybody, especially celebrities. And I realized I went in debt for nothing. I literally went in. Now, they have to decorate this man so that you could believe him. He has 49 honorary degrees from different colleges in America. Who the hell needs 49 degrees?
In addition, Gates is also the host of a show on PBS in which he takes celebrities like Chris Rock, Morgan Freeman, Tina Turner, and Don Cheadle and strains at attempts to connect them to certain tribes in Africa based upon genetic commonalities with African haplogroups, all while deceptively disconnecting them from their true indigenous American heritage.
Someone made a joke that one of my principal jobs is making people feel better about having owned slaves, right? I mean, I don't think the guilt is heritable.
Individuals such as Don Cheadle, Morgan Freeman, and Jackie Joyner Kersee were always told by their grandparents that they had Indian blood. However, according to Dr. Henry Louis Gates, their grandparents were liars.
Mind you, he just said, nobody believe you could spit in the tube and find what tribe you from. He literally just said it. Now he's going to tell all these people who said that they had Indian in their family, Indian heritage. He's going to look them in the face and bold-faced tell them your grandparents was lying. Watch, Pete. Watch Morgan Freeman.
A little Choctaw Indian in my background.
She looked like an Indian woman. She looked like, you know, I mean, like straight off the prairie.
They talk about the cheekbones and
Yeah, you do have high cheekbone.
yeah.
She always had long black hair, and so you know that's Indian hair.
But I've long been suspicious of these stories. How could so few Native Americans sleep with so many African slaves?
Hold on, pause. That's a good question. Let me back it up just a smidget. Hold on.
See, and Morgan Freeman, who had all been told they were Indian, Gates makes sure to
Look at that. Look, to debunk that you were Indian. Look what he showed them. Clear people. The so-called Native American. Remember, the Native American and the Indian are not the same. The Native American and the Indian are not the same. The Native American are the $5 footlongs. The Indian was the indigenous person to the land, which was the melanated one. I want to show you something else. Listen, it's all psychological. Show him a picture of the Native American. So when you tell him you ain't no Indian or your grandmother, and then try to condense the two to make the Native and the Indians the same, and they're not. Show him the picture of the Native American, and then come back with the DNA test that he said before that you can't really believe. And then say, yeah, you only have no Native American, actually. You got more white people in you than the Native American. And call your grandma a liar. You know, at one time, if somebody had said that your grandparents or great-grandparents was lying to you, you fought. You fight them. You will fight that person. Like, how dare you defame my people? But today, they literally, these 23andMe people, these DNA test people are literally going around everywhere hollering about how, that your grandpa, you just believe your grandmother, your grandmother's a lie. What?
invalidate, and refute any claims that they would have to indigenous genealogy. In the most disrespectful way possible, Gates confounds some of the most important lessons taught by their elders and dismisses oral family history as complete nonsense in such a way that these people no longer believe that their elders even know what they were talking about.
Crazy.
Further driving a wedge between generations.
Had hair down to her knee. I thought she looked, like a Native American. And that's, like I said, that was my mom, and she wore 70s headbands.
Oh, it's your
so
mom?
in the 70s,
Oh,
she
your
looked
mom's
like,
cool.
Everyone thought she was Native American.
Come on now. Remember, the biggest misconception is what the government had in place. What the government had in place was keep the man, strip him of his heritage and his knowledge of who he is. And then they put the clear people in there, sprinkled them in there. We intermarried, and then the clear people through the Dawes Rolls tax became the Native American. It's done by design. You are supposed to think Native American and Indian are the same. They're not. So these people on here talking about, oh yeah, I thought my grandmother was Native American. Honest mistake. That was meant for you to think that your grandparents were Native American. They were never Native American. They were Indian. The Native Americans is the ones you see around here today. But this is a light-skinned black woman, probably have some biracialness in her because they were intermarrying and interdating and all that stuff. But ultimately, this at the time was an Indian. But he's conflating Native American with Indian and showing you Native Americans just to kind of further put it in your head that can't be.
I have a little Choctaw Indian in my background.
She looked like an Indian woman. She looked like, like straight off the prairie.
They talk about the cheekbones and
Yeah, you do have high cheekbones.
yeah.
She always had long black hair, and so that's Indian hair.
But I've long been suspicious of these stories. How could so few...
Let's be clear. This is the Indian. Can we talk? Because this is where I want to stop at. You see this dark-skinned man? This is the Indian. This is probably somebody he intermarried with, which created the long hair, brown skin granny. My daddy told me about his grandmother, I'm sorry. He said hair long down her back, long and straight, because this was happening. This is the indigenous person, not this one. Let me say that again for the people in the bike. And she could be biracial, but this is the Indian, not this one. But because we believe that the Indian is the Native American, when people with the naked eye, without the knowledge, look at this photo, they're going to assume that she is the Indian because they know what Native Americans look like. Does that make sense? But this brother right here is the Indian. He's the Indian, not her. She might have some in her, but he's the indigenous person, not her.
few Native Americans sleep with so many African slaves. Tina grew up believing that two of her grandparents were part Native American.
Yeah, I keep saying
But you're only 1% Native American. You know how your family has always thought that you had all this Native American heritage?
Yes.
It was white heritage that you had.
All this time, I've been thinking Indian. I was dying to find out what tribe it was.
You're from the tribe of Europe.
This nigga right here, if there's a hell that bad people going to, this nigga going first class. If there is a hell, like an actual place or somewhere that, you know, bad people go, that nigga going first class. That matter of fact, that nigga might be leading the train.
Wow.
And I'm 3% Native American. So I got just a little Indian.
You got a little Indian in it.
You see that? So I'm 3% Native American. So I got just a little Indian. No time joiner. Indian and Native American are not the same. So even if the test is true, which I don't believe, and he said it wasn't, of course it would make sense that you have 3% Native American, because the Native American looks like the ones we see today.
Truth, 0% Native American and 0%.
Remember, the government job was to make you believe the Native American is the Indian. That's if you don't take nothing away from this, the government's job was to make you believe that you're the African and that the Native American is the Indian. I'm going to say that again. The government's job was to make the so-called black person, the indigenous person of this land, believe that you're the African and the Native American is the Indian. So that's why when he's speaking to these people and he's saying, yeah, and Native American, yep, nope, you're not Native American. And the other person will say, dang, I'm not Indian. Nope, not Indian. But he's putting them all together to make you more confused.
% Native American and 0% who were Native American.
We're going to have to tell the Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma now that I misrepresented myself.
Even concealed within this great deception, there is truth. The confusion comes from a Eurocentric method of classification based upon appearance, more commonly skin tone, which was used as a method of dividing the masses into the social totem pole of the American caste system. The injection of Caucasian DNA into indigenous blood provided a method of genetic segregation. The majority of anyone who is considered a government paper-backed Indian belonging to the 5 civilized tribes does in fact have European ancestry.
Before we move on, I got to say this part. Every time you tell a Pan-Africanism or a Pan-African person that you are from a tribe of your parents or your ancestors were Indians, they always convert to, oh, Indian, the Native Americans own slaves. So you trying to tell me that your people own slaves? Look at the chiefs of the 5 civilized tribes. Let me say it again. Black people will continue to tell you that if you say you got any Indian in your family, then Native Americans own slaves. That's what they said. Look at the chiefs of these tribes. Any of these people look like they could be any of our ancestors? Remember, the 5 civilized tribes were simply, and this one looked white. At least he looked a little Asian. Him maybe a little mixed in with some white. He looked like he Mexican and white. The 5 civilized tribes were the tribes of that they kind of like sunk them down into 5. And these are all the people, the Native Americans that they put in charge of the 5 civilized tribes, so that they can further drive the narrative that you guys got to be African, because if you're not part of these 5 civilized tribes, then you're not an Indian. Remember, the Native American is supposed to take the identity of the Indian. So I don't want nobody to ever say, if anybody ever tell y'all what a Native American owned slaves, please go pull up a photo of the 5 civilized tribes.
The only reason these tribes are even in existence after 1866 is because they submitted under the will of Europeans. And by then, tribal membership was used by white men as a ploy to acquire vast amounts of native land. The title Freedmen was a reclassified label given to Negroes or dark Indians who had either been free brown people of the land or slaves to one of the 5 civilized tribes.
You get it? So the Negroes, who were the actual Indians, they made the Native Americans the Indians and told the Negro, you are now a freedman. Remember, a freedman meaning you were somewhere at some point, you were a slave. They were slaves to some of the 5 civilized tribes. You just seen what them people kind of look like. And they were labeled as freedmen. And they had to answer if any person, any so-called black person wanted to be an Indian, you had to go to them folks, still to this day.
Indigenous Indians were excluded from membership. So in a sense, Gates is telling the truth.
Did you read those results?
20% European.
You were 1/5 white.
Wow. Oh, man. I'm horrible in sports, so maybe this explains that. My jump shot is horrible.
19% European. Are you surprised to know that you have that much European ancestry? I guess so. As dark complected as I am. It means you're a third white. Well, that's surprising.
Surprising.
Surprising. You are 33% European. I'm 50-50. To my horror, the chairman of African American Studies at Harvard at the time was a half a white man.
That nigga is a half and half. Makes all the sense in the world. How many times did I tell y'all that they put the half and halves in charge and parade them in front of the Negro because we believe that all skin folk is what kinfolk? This nigga is a half and half. One of his parents got to be clear then. Girl, you can't make this up. Now he's the half and half telling all these people they got 30. He would rather say y'all have 30% more clear in you than any Native American, and which is true because we don't have hardly any Native American in us because the so-called Native American, them Asian clear people that we see, we didn't procreate with them like that. They actually procreated with more of the whites than anything. So we wouldn't have ancestry to our DNA from the Native American.
Surprising. 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 Surprising.
Look, these are real. Here is a prime example of how disgustingly low the world will go to hide who you truly are. They hire their porch monkey propaganda puppets at institutions like Harvard and make them dean of the Department of African American Studies.
A biracial is dean of the Department of, oh my God, a biracial so-called black man is the dean, not the dean of the Department of African American Studies. You know, I have a biracial niece. I do. Love her to death. If my biracial niece were to try to tell me about African American, so-called African American history and make it as if she knows more than me, I would have a problem with that. This is a half and half biracial man who's the dean of African American Studies. You know why? Because he's there to help further confuse you too. That's the whole point is his job is to keep you off the rocker too. You can't make this shit up.
In 100 years, academia will support the idea that blacks are descended from Europeans and Native Americans no longer exist. But why isn't Native American DNA showing up in test results? Go to Google right now and check out the hundreds upon thousands of complaints from people claiming that they have Native American ancestry. But the results came back and they were sitting there with the Don Cheadle face. All these Native American grandparents, well, according to Ancestry.com and MyHeritage and 23andMe and a slew of other DNA charlatans, your grandparents lied to you and everybody about who they were and about who you are. According to them,
Your grandparents are liars. And their DNA test proves that. So what's the real reason Native American ancestry doesn't show up on any DNA tests? Just as with anything else, money, power, control. Fact, Native American tribes are discouraged from sharing their DNA with any research company, and nearly all tribes have declined participation in such studies.
So if that's the case, if the Native Americans collectively, that don't mean everybody, but if collectively they decided not to partake, how you gonna know who got any percentage of Native American in your blood? Who on here took a DNA test? Who on here took a DNA test? And if you did they tell you had any percentage of Native American? And if they did, my next question is, how, Sway, when the Native Americans collectively do not take the test? Make it make sense. Just like the Africans ain't taking the test, yet they're telling y'all we from West Africa, ain't they? Don't they tell us we from West Africa?
Imagine millions more people claiming indigenous heritage. And think about the amount of money, land, and resources the federal government would have to commit to those people on their behalf. But at its root, the true reason for this DNA propaganda is to push the false historical narrative of all Black Americans being from Africa for the purposes of countering our will to claim what is rightfully ours.
Y'all, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is insanitary at this point. This is crazy. It's the old bait and switch, the okie doke. That's what it is. It's the old okie doke, the major look. Hold on, somebody had said something. Hold on. Author Empress says it goes by percentages. So if your indigenous is below 0.5, is that 0.5%? Yeah. 0.05%, then ancestry.com won't pick it up. But 23andMe will. Girl. So you mean to tell me we supposed to just go with this lie? all of it is a lie. All of it, everything is a lie. I hope you know that, right? Every single thing you've ever been taught is a lie. All of it, period, point blank.
It was all a lie. Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
The government really played in our face. Did you hear the most important part of this? Because if we were to find out that we are the original owners and the rightful owners of the land and the resources, that puts them people out of business. That damn near unalives them off. The test is a lie, out the horse's mouth. The test is a lie. The history we were taught was a lie. But again, they have to make you think you're from Africa. And again, this a lot of this started with Charles Darwin. At the beginning of the live, we read that his out of Africa theory is the basis for all scientific, literary, and I think it said religious doctrine. The whole point is, in order to keep them blind and stupid, in the 60s, we just saw it, implement this whole African thing. Hey, y'all not even from here, y'all African. And Ozzie Davis knew better. Because in the 60s, I'm pretty sure his mama was able to tell his mama, not his grandmother. In the 60s, I'm pretty positive his mama was saying, boy, you ain't no goddamn African. My mama full-blooded this and my daddy full-blooded that. I know for a fact if his mama saw that and they had a conversation, she was like, Ozzy, now why would you get up here and tell them people that? You know good and well, mind you, this is 65. She would have said, either you know good and well, I done told you that your grandmother is full-blooded Choctaw and your grandfather is full-blooded Cherokee or whatever. But he's a puppet. He got to do what they tell him to do. Because if he don't, his ass is grass. And it's not just money-wise. They will take you up out of here. Them people be signing blood oaths to do this stuff. All of them, Bill included, all of them. Their job is to mislead you. The fact of the matter is, I want to show y'all one more. Wait, is that the one? Hold on. Thank you, the non-Aquarius. Even Black Caribbeans, they tell us we're not Indian, but before Columbus, Taino, and Arawak Indians ran the Caribbean. Because you are Indian, Dadan. You are. And again, and that's why when I had these conversations, I always say that this doesn't just affect North Americans. South America, all of the islands, can't name them all. Brazil, all of us. We are all indigenous to whatever land when them folk got here, we was already there. All of us, every single one of us. But they want to make us believe that we come from somewhere else, and that's not the truth. So even in the Caribbean, that is your land. They on your, it's the same thing. They're on your land. That's yours. It belongs to you, your ancestors. And we, along with, especially in North America, along with a lot of foreigners, unfortunately, we did build the land, but ultimately we had to teach everybody else how to do it because how would they know? I want to show y'all one more thing before I get off, y'all. Where I find it at? I want to show y'all one more thing. Let's talk about artifacts. Let's talk about artifacts. Is this it? Let me see. We're going to go through this video again too, because this is a really good one. Let's talk about artifacts. This is a piece in this video I want to show y'all. And when you find artifacts, that tells you, that's older than this Darwin theory, that tells you, hey, there were people there. Artifacts don't make themselves. That don't go like that. Look.
Portion of the spoken languages come without a doubt from the Maya. And all of the European languages are permeated with Maya, especially the Greek, the alphabet of which is made up of Mayan words. A Mexican Indian and a person from Japan can understand each other without the use of an interpreter. There are many common roots in both languages. End quote.
Now, there are people out there, especially in U.S. academia, who love to dismiss the tens of thousands of artifacts showing ancient Middle Eastern languages and customs here in North America as fakes. But then how do they explain some of the Middle Eastern languages and customs, particularly Hebrew, that are still preserved among some Native American cultures? Is it just coincidence? Of course not. And I'm going to show you a few examples. Now, I'm not saying that all Native Americans have Hebrew or other Middle Eastern ancestry, but there definitely are some. Now, if you're a Native American watching this video, it may or may not apply to you, depending on what tribes are in your ancestry. If it does apply to you, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with the name of God. Here are two columns. One column shows the name of God in Hebrew and various pronunciations of it. The other column shows various pronunciations of the name of God or Creator, as he is more often called, in various Native American cultures. Look at his name. Coincidence? No. Next, I want to show you a list of Algonquin words and phrases from a book printed in 1825 called View of the Hebrews by Ethan Smith. Now, like many books in this time period of the United States, it calls the Native Americans savages, which I don't agree with. Just because the Native American tribes had different cultures than the European settlers doesn't mean they were savages.
Mind you, just to give context, I know this clear man is saying Native American, but he mean Indian, the indigenous, the copper colored people. That's what he means. But he's saying Native American because remember, the idea is to make us think the Native American is the Indian and the Indian is the Native American.
But anyway, be prepared to see that term in old books like this. So here's a list of words and phrases from View of the Hebrews shown in 3 columns. The first column is in English. The second column is from Algonquin tribes originally from the eastern United States before the government took their lands and forced them onto reservations. The third column is Hebrew or Chaldaic, which are both Semitic languages.
Do you see English, Indian? That was us. This is us. English, Indian. This book is written in 1825 according to this clear man.
Obviously, columns 2 and 3 are spelled out with English letters so that the reader can try to pronounce them as they actually sound. Look how similar these words and phrases are that have been preserved in the Algonquin languages. Some are exact, some are near exact, others are very similar.
So what he's saying is the Indian had exact or close to exact similar language as the Hebrew. Remember, there are studies that's been done that when they came over here, they thought that we were the Hebrews as well because of the way we wrote, the way we spoke, and all that stuff. This is somebody put it in the chat. So they forced us to learn their language and took ours. Yes, Irie, I see your comment. That's exactly what they did. Hold on. Let me give her this notification. That is exactly what they did. Took our language and forced us to learn theirs. That's literally what they did. That's literally what they did. It's ridiculous, bro. You got to understand, this colonizer is something different, something different, bro.
And look at the type of words and phrases. A lot of them are biblical. This is the real deal. Linguistics like this are not coincidences or fakes. View of the Hebrews is a very informative book, and I suggest you read it. It has many more examples of language, customs, and beliefs preserved among Native Americans that tie into Middle Eastern ancestry. Another excellent book is The 10 Tribes of Israel by Timothy R. Jenkins, printed in 18...
Hold on, I want to show y'all these artifacts. Let me see where they at. Here they go.
Hey, everybody.
Really quickly. See how they play with us in the movie? He said, if I was an Indian, which I ain't, you heard the man say, you ain't far from it. They used to tell us that y'all got to start watching these old movies and watch them over. I'm telling you, they was telling us in the movies. If I was an Indian, which I ain't, well, you ain't far from it, what that mean?
Welcome to the first of my travelogue videos. This is the Johnson Humrick House Museum in Coshocton, Ohio. It's about an hour and a half east of Columbus, Ohio. So what you see here, these are called the Newark Holy Stones.
This is in Ohio.
And they were found in 1860 at Newark, Ohio, which is only about an hour east of Columbus. They were found in the burial grounds of an ancient mound builder civilization, which the United States calls the Hopewell civilization, who were here from about the 500s BC to about 400 AD.
Pause, hold up, wait a minute. In the 1820s, they found these artifacts in the 1800s that date back to a people from 500 BC. This ain't in Africa. This is in Ohio. Let me say that part again. This ain't in Africa. This is in Ohio. And before we move on, I want to play it one more time. This ain't in Africa. This is in Ohio. Who live around Ohio?
Travelogue videos. This is the Johnson Humrick House Museum in Coshocton, Ohio. It's about an hour and a half east of Columbus, Ohio. So what you see here, these are called the Newark Holy Stones, and they were found in 1860 at Newark, Ohio, which is only about an hour east of Columbus. They were found in the burial grounds of an ancient mound builder civilization, which the United States calls the Hopewell civilization, who were here from about the 500s BC to about 400 AD. They were found by a man named David Wyrick and about 7 other witnesses. This first stone you're looking at here, this is nicknamed the Decalogue Stone. It was found in November of 1860 in a large burial mound. And the reason why it's called the Decalogue Stone is because it has the entire 10 Commandments inscribed on it in ancient block Hebrew letters. You'll notice there's a person carved here in the middle. It looks like he's wearing a robe and a turban on his head and holding a tablet. The letters above his head say Moshe, which means Moses. As you can see, the inscription of the 10 Commandments is all over the front, sides, and back of the stone. After the stone was discovered, when word got out about it, many people automatically dismissed it as fake because they didn't think it was possible for an ancient Hebrew artifact to be found in a North American burial mound that was a couple thousand years old. And they weren't aware that block Hebrew was a genuine written form of ancient Hebrew. They thought it was made up. Now, if you notice behind the Decalogue Stone, you have the case and the lid, which the stone was found in. And as I mentioned before, David Wyrick had witnesses with him. They dug up thousands of wagon loads of dirt and stone, and at the very bottom and center of the burial mound, they found a wood coffin. When they opened it up, there was a skeleton inside that soon crumbled to dust, as ancient skeletons often do when they're exposed to air. There was a stone found with the skeleton, and when they picked it up, they could hear rattling inside of it when they shook it. And it turns out the stone was a stone case cemented together with something inside of it. They couldn't get the case open, so they cracked it open with a shovel. And that's when they found the Decalogue Stone inside of it.
Nigga said Moses was in Cleveland. He probably was in Cleveland. Looking like goddamn Steve Harvey, big lip ass. He probably was old Steve Harvey looking ass nigga. Now that I'm thinking about it, Rhonda, you might be right. Moses probably was a big lip Steve Harvey looking ass nigga running around Cleveland. But pause. But I thought Africa was the motherland. This stone, they said, found from 500 BC. This is where they age it. Between 500 BC, before Christ. That's for the people who don't know. Around to a few hundred AD after the Negro died. So if we go by the out of Africa theory, then that's impossible. Impossible. And that's why when they brought it to, even though they found bones, human bones inside of the doggone tomb, oh no, that can't be real. Not because it's not, but just because it completely goes against the out of Africa theory. Does that make sense? So not only did they find artifacts, there were actual buried bones in it, bro. He said they had to use a shovel to get it open. And they were like, "Oh no, that's no, That completely within itself debunks the out of Africa theory. And if it's so fake, why they got it in a doggone museum? And if it's also so fake, why does that writing match the so-called Hebrew writing that y'all said y'all had that was coming from other places? Stop it. Stop it. Y'all got to learn the okie doke. This is the okie doke. The okie doke is they want you to believe that Africa is the resourceful motherland that and that's where we all come from. All human, all the precious gold and the precious metals and all of this stuff comes from Africa. Lies. Mind you, Charles Darwin just had a theory. That's it. He ain't have no receipts. He have just a theory. Hey, I don't know, so I'm gonna just make this up and throw that shit at the wall and see if it's thick. Oh snap, it's stuck. Cool. But when you find actual artifacts from between 500 BC to a few hundred years AD, you mean to tell me, oh no, that can't be. That can't be. Maybe, just maybe, the okie doke was to convince you that Africa is really what America is. Does that make sense? Maybe, just maybe, the idea was to make you believe, trick you, and make you believe that Africa is actually what America is. You ever thought about that? They're going to tell you everybody came from Africa. Of course they will. Why wouldn't they? For land reasons. But not only that, identity reasons. They're going to tell you were a slave from Africa. That helps them on all fronts. You believe that you're not indigenous to this land, so swoop, keep the land. And it keeps you confused so that you don't even realize who you are as far as your identity. There you go, leader. North is south and vice versa. Yes, up is down, down is up. I've been saying that. What if instead of Africa being the birthplace of civilization, what if America was? Don't let nobody come at y'all with that out of Africa bullshit. Don't let nobody make you believe that they had to go get 14 million of your ancestors and bring them over here from. We've already debunked how that wouldn't be logically possible, logistically possible. Do not let them people show you and make you. It's all about what you believe. That's literally what it's all about. They don't care about the facts. All they care about is what you believe, especially in today's society. Oh my God, it's annoying. You wonder why they flooded so many places out, burned so many places up? Let me show y'all something. It's the last thing I'm going to show y'all. To see, they're very cunning. These people are extremely cunning. They know how to manipulate things. I want to show y'all something. Hold on one second. I want to show y'all something. Not this one. Hold on. Give me 1 second. These people have destroyed so much. Let me share so you can see while I'm doing it. Through fire, through floods, Do everything. Somebody give me a popular city. Can somebody just name a popular city, a famous city in America, please? I would sure appreciate you. Somebody throw out a city. Throw out a popular big city today. Just throw out one. Anyone. Just throw one out. Miami. Okay. The fire began on May 3rd, 1901 with a spark from a cook stove at lunchtime with ignited piles of Spanish moss drying for a mattress factory. Let's do another one. Houston. Oh yeah, let's do Houston. We're gonna go down the list. Watch. Downtown up in a blaze from 1912 fire. 1912. What else we got? Let's do Philly. Let's do Philadelphia. Let's do Philly. Let's do Philly. Yep. Watch. Fire on the waterfront. Hold on. Let me scroll down. We want to get the actual dates of these fires. Hold on. I don't want to have to click on it. July 9th. I can't see the doggone the date. Let me show it to y'all over here. Share this tab instead. We're gonna click on this one because they didn't put the dates in the title. Fire on the waterfront. Let's see when this one was. The first great fire in Philadelphia history began in the afternoon of July 9th, 1850. Let's pull up another city. Hold on. Let's go get Chi-Town. Let's go get Chicago. Let's go get Chicago. I'm trying to show y'all something. Let me go get Chicago. And you can do this on your own if you think I'm bull crapping. Do this on your own. October 8th through 10th, 1871. Let's do Nashville. I hope y'all see where this is going, right? The Great East Nashville Fire of 1916. Who else we got? Let's go get Detroit. Let's get the Motown up here. Get Motown up here. I'm just trying to show y'all something. The Great Fire of 1805. Who got another city? San Francisco. Let's get them up here. The Great San Francisco Fire that broke out after the earthquake, April 18th, 1906. Let's go get New York. Let's go get New York. He from New York City, boss. Let's go get New York on here. Get New York up here. Ooh, what do you know? The Great Fire of New York refers to one of the three major fires that devastated New York City in the 18th and 19th centuries. The most destructive one occurred in 1835. Who else we got? Let's go get Boston on here. Get Boston up here. Get up here, Boston. It's your turn. It's your turn. I hope y'all see where I'm going with this. Great Boston Fire, 1872. Let's go get St. Louis. Let's go get St. Louis. Oh, the Great Fire of St. Louis occurred May 17, 1849. Birmingham, that's a good one. Let's go get Birmingham. Hold on. Wait, these are new ones. Hold on. Let me type it how I had it. Oh, crap. I thought I would. Hold on. (1963). Who else we got? They were all in the late 1800s and 1900s. Oh, let's go get New Orleans on here. I'm glad you asked, Stage. I was going to do that one anyway. Let's go get New Orleans. New Orleans, did you catch a fire? What do you know? 1788. Y'all want to do another one? Las Vegas. Get Vegas up here. Get Vegas up here. Nah, that was 80. Let me scroll down. That was talking about the MGM Grand. Damn, I don't care about that one. Hold on. We gonna get a Vegas on here. Let me tell Google what to give me. Hold on. I gotta tell Google how to do it. Y'all gotta understand how the algorithm works. They tell you what they want you to know. And since Las Vegas is so like popular, they're gonna give you the doggone MGM Grand. We don't care about that. Oh crap. Oh, early on the morning of October 26, 1875, a coal lamp was knocked over in a nearby boarding house and burst into flames. This is in 1875. Are y'all getting where I'm going with this? Why y'all think, get me up here. Now, just why would and on your own time, pick a state, pick a city, and put in the great fire of, and then put the city behind it. Why they burning and flooding all these major cities? Is that a coincidence that we literally just pulled up about 20 cities and all of them had a great fire around the same time? Is that a coincidence? Every major city had a great fire in the late 17th century or the early 18th century. 18th and 19th century. I'm sorry. What they trying to hide, bro? I'm pretty sure it was to get rid of some people too, but what they was trying to hide? Maybe some of them artifacts I showed y'all. They flooded New Orleans for Katrina. What they was trying to hide? What was the motive? And that ain't the first time a great flood happened like Katrina neither. We'll get into that another time. The difference between us and them is they don't think, they have a multifaceted mind. They're not creators, but when they make a move, it's to affect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1,200 different things at the same time. Because these people or those people were destroyers. They were colonizers, too kind of a word to give them. These people were literal devils. I understand more why Malcolm would call them devils. You would have to have the most evilest mindset or even state of mind to think to do some of the things. I can't even get into all of the things. To think to do what they have done in the past to your ancestors. They literally not only enslaved your ancestors, they took your identity. That is the most important thing a person or a people can have. There's nothing more important than an identity. Without an identity, you literally don't exist. And the reason why they keep changing your name is the same reason why there's a great fire of this. The same reason why they find artifacts in Ohio way older than Darwin and his theory. But and scientists say, that's impossible. You got to understand what's happening to you. Even today, right now, it's happening to you right now. They got to keep you ignorant and keep you stupid so that they can continue to reign and prevail. And then the way they was going to keep you stupid too and let you just, continue to be stupid and don't ask no questions through religion. Think about heaven lasts always, head ass niggas. I'm more what's her name? Not silly. I'm more the other one. Girl, you better bash Mr. over the head and think about heaven later. What? Heaven lasts always. What? That's our mindset. This life be over soon. Heaven lasts always. Sophia, yeah, that is the Black person's mindset, especially the religious one. Oh my God. This life be over soon. Heaven lasts always. Girl, you better bash Mr. over the head and think about heaven later. You know, it brings to my point, and I'm gonna close out with this. When they be saying we stupid as Black people and they think that we're dumb, I see why they think that. You know why? And I'm not saying that they're right. I see why they think that. If I was able to come into your house and literally take over all your shit and make you subservient to me, and you don't even try to figure out what the hell's going on, you just conform, I would think you're stupid too. Even if I'm putting up all the stops, even if I'm putting every barrier in your way to make sure that you don't know who and what you are. If I walk into your home right now and took over you, your family, and everything, and I put all types of distractions in there, and you never not once tried to figure out, wait a minute, who is this person? How did they get in here? And most importantly, who am I? This person done changed. If you never tried, I would think you're stupid too. So I see, and I don't agree, but I see why they look at us the way that they do. Because we'd rather be entertained than to know the real shit. And it's like taking candy from a baby. It is very imperative that you learn who you are. It ain't no one trick pony. It ain't no, oh, you got to be this or you got to be that. There were multiple tribes. A lot of them fell under some certain tribes, but listen to me and listen to me good. You have to know you ain't from Africa. That's a fact. You ain't from no Africa. You ain't from Africa. I don't care what no clear man in the 1800s said. I don't care what no Negro say in 2024. Let them go over there with that Black power bullshit, Pan-African bullshit. Let them go over there with that. You ain't from Africa. And we'll get more into it as the weeks go by. But I got to get off of here. And yes, please. Thank you, God. Thank you. How do you say it? I can't even say your last name. La Santisima. I'm sorry if I said it wrong. Stop calling yourself Black. It hasn't served you yet. And it ain't gonna serve you. Actually, it's made you more obsolete. Stop calling yourself Black. You're not Black. Jesus Christ. Thank you. Don't identify as a color, period. Don't nobody else do it. Nobody else in the world, except the people in the West Indies, so-called West Indies, where we at now, identify as a color. Stop it. Find out who you are. Don't be lazy about it. Because, see, Black is the easy way to go. And that's why you've been getting played like you've been getting played. All of us. Because we all been hollering Black. I'm Black. I'm Black and Black. Black, Black, Black. Say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud. Yeah. And whole time, James Brown had direct Choctaw, full-blooded. James Brown was a full-blooded Indian. Crazy to me. Crazy to me. That's crazy to me. James Brown, Little Richard, all those were full-blooded Indian. Both of them niggas. And James Brown put out a song saying, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Because James Brown's is a puppet. He had to do what them people say he got to do. You feel me? They still got these niggas today. Tariq Nasheed, Dr. Umar, naming everything after doggone Marcus Garvey. Him attaching himself to Marcus Garvey should tell you everything you need to know. If you know anything about Marcus Garvey, you know even in the early 1900s when this fat meatball was running around, the Black Americans, so-called Black Americans, didn't even deal with Marcus Garvey then. So for him to attach himself to Marcus Garvey, that's all you need to know as far as truth. Now, if you want to be entertained and watch him go off on the clear people, have fun. When I see it, I watch it too. But I don't take nothing he says as far as heritage or nothing he says as far as that Pan-African bull. I don't take none of that. I don't want to hear it. No. Nope. How they say, eat the meat, spit out the bones. If you so shall please. Anyway, y'all, thank y'all so much for being here. I gotta get off here. I'm going down by my man. I'll see y'all tomorrow sometime. I'll probably post some pre-recorded content. But I'll see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow. I'll see y'all tomorrow, probably at the Dollhouse. Okay. I appreciate y'all. We'll go over more of this because I gotta get more into this stuff. I have to. And we'll get into more as it comes along. I also want to get into what happened when them people first came here and how we were all tricked from the very beginning. Okay. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all for being here. I'm gonna joke y'all up out of here. I ain't even played the intro. I gotta find another intro because it's just not fitting for Educational Friday. But anyway, I'm gonna joke y'all up out of here. Love y'all. Peace. Bye, y'all.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. We live, baby. Come on. That's right. Okay. Can you hear me now? Oh, let's go. It's your boy Big Chew, the voice of the beat. You know what I won't blaze up. Come on, blaze up.
It's the beat for me.
Wow, 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 wow. For your guy, for your B-O-Y. Drop it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Do it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Come on, baby, we live. For your boy. For your boy. Also for your boy. Fix it for your boy. Drop it for your wow. Lift it up. Then it bust it open, lift it up. Yeah. Come on, lift it up. Then it bust it open for your B-O-Y. For your rockin' for your lift it up, baby. Mix it with your bossa now. Come on, Blaze, so you know. Drop me a nasty beat.
Mr. Carroll, how you give the voodoo doll time to talk? I don't get no fucking time to talk.
Who the voodoo doll is?
The nigga you just had up here.